Hey everybody, and welcome back to Jerseys with Josh, the YouTube channel about all things related to NHL game-worn jerseys. And as you can see, I've got three collector friends here with me today. We're doing a challenge, taking a look at jerseys from two auctions that are live right now, the GameWornAuctions.net auction and Classic Auction. So without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about it. All right, everybody, welcome. Let's kick things off. As I mentioned, I've got three friends here with me. Let's have everyone say hello, talk about what you collect, how long you've been collecting for. Let's kick things off with a new face to the channel, Dan Day. Dan, welcome. How long have you been collecting for? What do you collect?
Hey, what's up, Josh? Thanks for having me. Let me see. I've been collecting for probably close to 10, 12 years. My main focus, the main thing I go after is Penguins defensemen that have greater than 150 games. Then I have a variety of other jerseys because, we're jersey collectors. So want to have some more.
Awesome, man. Glad to have you. Thanks for joining us on the video. We've got Mike Engel, a stalwart on this channel, the guru of photo matching himself. Mike, can you give the audience a little bit of background for those who haven't met you yet?
Sure. Hey, Josh. Thanks for having me for I think for the fourth time now. I'm the boomerang. You try to kick me out of here, but I always seem to come back. Thanks for having me back, Dan, Andrew. Thrilled to hang out with you guys for the night. Got some new friends in the hobby already. Gotta love it. Yeah, you might, if you're a long-time watcher of Josh's show, I might be familiar looking and sounding from episode 10 with my featured collector episode. Episode 14, the magnum opus called How to Photo Match, and episode 23, which was me and a few other collectors going window shopping on eBay and other retail websites on the internet. As for my collection, I've been collecting since September 2020, so not long at all, just a little more than 2 years. I am a Montreal Canadiens fan, as you can see by everything in my background. Canadiens fan, Canadiens collector. I'm up to 6 jerseys, including one minor leaguer. For the jerseys, I focus on photo matched to a game where I was in attendance as a fan. It's a tight rule, but there are so many jerseys out there. I have to make sure that I don't have a trillion jerseys, and I have to make sure that the ones I bring home are super special to me. So jerseys, photo match to a game that I saw live. I'm also into helmets, gloves, and sticks. As long as they're photo matched, I'll think about bringing them home. I got 3 helmets, I got 6 pairs of gloves, and I've got 9 sticks, including that one right behind me. That's the new one. That's a Carey Price that's photo matched to January 18, 2017, and the warm-up at January 21. So it's a pretty sick find. And then I'm also into goal pucks. That's where I go all loosey-goosey, and just if it catches my eye, why not? I'm almost at triple digits with goal pucks, but not quite.
Awesome, Mike. Super glad to have you back. Thanks for the context there. And we'll kick things over to Andrew, someone who I've known since elementary school and somebody who's relatively new to the hobby. Andrew.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. I would, for going into the hobby, would definitely have to call myself a rookie. Only been collecting for 3-4 months, but really specializing right now in obviously Toronto Maple Leaf stuff, since they're the best team. Sorry, because they are.
No.
And
Best
really also specializing in goal
collapsing in the first round.
Oh,
yeah, we get used to it.
Best in game 7s.
Yeah, well, if we don't make it to a game, if we get out of the first round before game 7, I'll be happy. When we get to game 6, then I start to sweat a little bit. the other thing is I also really like to dabble in MLS jerseys as well. So I do have one jersey from Toronto FC. So being a season ticket holder with them as well, it's been, it's a whole different atmosphere. But when it comes to the jersey collecting, it's right along the same lines. So those are my two big things. So, but yeah, definitely a rookie. Let's put it that way.
Awesome. Welcome to the hobby, Andrew. Welcome to the show. And you picked a really cheap team to go after. Leafs jerseys are historically inexpensive, so you should be go for a match.
Sure. Okay.
All right. For those of you who don't know, again, at this moment in time, as we're filming, there are two pretty big auction houses that have auctions running right now. So it's GameWarnAuctions.net and Classic Auctions as well. Both are just a little bit different. They've got their nuances to them. I'm not going to get into too much detail there, but I've given some parameters to the collectors in the video in advance to prepare for today. So with that said, let's dive in. Okay, so for the first challenge, gentlemen, the first one was, what is your favorite jersey listed in one of the two auctions? If money were not an issue, you'd 100% walk away with this jersey to add to your collection. What jersey would that be? And we'll kick things off with Dan. Dan, I'm going to send it over to you.
All right.
If you can screen share and show the jersey. And
I don't know if I can do that. I could talk about it. So mine, it's on Game Worn Auctions. I've always wanted one.
I can pull it up. Which one is it?
It's the Bob Probert.
Okay.
I grew up in Michigan, though I'm a Penguins fan, but I grew up watching. Obviously, we didn't have all the technology we have nowadays to watch any of the teams, so I grew up watching the Red Wings. I still like the Red Wings, just not as much as the Penguins. Bob Probert, I would. That's the we throw sometimes people throw the word Grail around, but it's always been out of my price range, and that's okay. I've come at peace with that. But Bob Probert, not only was he a power forward fighter, everything that goes into that, but he also shares my birthday. So Probert and I have the same birthday, and so it's always been a special one to own. I tried once to go for one, and I felt the collector that had it was dragging me along, so I just pulled out and came at peace that I was probably never going to own a Probert jersey. But if money was not an option, it would definitely be Bob Probert. That's the one I would go after.
That's a cool one. I can't. I don't know if I can really fight you on this one. I read his book. Was really, really interesting. Kind of talked about his life and times. Have you read it by chance?
No, I've seen the others. I've seen the story that they produced. Didn't read the book. Yeah, some of the stuff that obviously tragic. What happened to him, kind of probably in the self-destruction category. But I mean, the best fight I ever saw one night watching. This was back in the day in the '90s when ESPN hockey the first time. Him and Marty McSorley got in a fight when it's the Wings versus the Kings, and it was the best fight I've ever seen. So still to this day, they literally just did not stop for, God, it felt like 15 minutes. I was literally jumping up and down. It was the best fight I've ever seen in my watching hockey. And then he went away. I think went away laughing about it. He could score. I mean, he was a badass, and he watched Yzerman's back, Federer's back, and so I said, then you connect the birthday that we had share the same birthday. That would be the ultimate jersey, one of his jerseys. So that's the one I would go after if money wasn't an object.
Awesome. I love the patch. The 100-year Stanley Cup anniversary patch. Mike, Andrew, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, patches are always special. Gotta love those jerseys. Those Detroit Red Wings, such a cool logo, the winged wheel. Really, really intricate logo, hard for a kindergartner to draw, but it's on a very simple background with hardly any stripes on it at all. So it's like totally balanced, and Probert's got the alternate captain's A on it, so we got a patchorama. It shows how much respect he had in the locker room at that time. Got to dig the vertical arched lettering that not too many teams use these days. Yeah, it's just that's an amazing jersey. It's going to be hard to appreciate the wear on the internet. That'll be one of those things that just has to be better in person. And given that it's Bob Probert, I don't think I've ever heard of a Bob Probert jersey that is light on the wear. I mean, that's an oxymoron right there. So it has to be spectacular. Yeah, that is a fine choice. And I hope you do get a money tree in your backyard, because there's some hardcore enforcer collectors out there who would want this one for sure. So yeah, man.
Yeah, I think that would definitely be a fun jersey just to even if you don't bid on it, would be a fun one just to watch and see where it actually goes.
Mm-hmm.
Because I agree, there are some collectors, and just seeing how the market is going, that one's probably gonna get up there really quick, and or maybe not. Maybe it stays low until the end, and then it gets a bunch of bids right at the very end, right? So, but it is a sweet looking jersey. I mean, even though it's Detroit, I mean, the player himself is what makes it, right? So that's a sweet jersey.
So Dan, just out of curiosity, if this were a Chicago Blackhawks Bob Probert instead, would you still be going after it, or would that be one bridge there for you?
No, the one I actually went after one time was the Blackhawks.
Okay.
The Blackhawks are a little cheaper than the Red Wings. And so the one I went after was the Blackhawks one. And like I said, the collector was kind of dragging me along, so I just pulled out of it. And the money that I had set aside to buy the Probert, I'd gathered some stuff up and had some money, enough for what at that time I checked around, I asked a few other people, was enough for it. I know I made a fair offer. I ended up buying like 11 jerseys. I took the money and went and bought 11 other jerseys, ranging in prices. I just said fine. So that's how much I had saved up to offer the collector for it. So I just went shopping and found other jerseys, cheaper jerseys and stuff like that. So no, it would not matter to me. It would not matter if it's the Blackhawks or Red Wings. Wouldn't matter.
So if you did manage to get your hands on that jersey, is that one of those ones that it's never going to leave the rack? It's going to be hanging on the wall?
Yeah. Next to my son's jersey, that would never leave the rack. My son's jersey is obviously the most special jersey I own. So, but that one, would never leave. So I might be buried in it. And when I say buried, I mean cremated. So that's going with me, I'll take her around the hobby.
Oh man! Oh, counterpoint. Sell it literally 24 hours before you go. Pay for the funeral. Leave something behind for the university fund and all that jazz.
They're already taken care of, man. That's it. That's done.
All right.
Mike, let's kick it over to you. What do you got?
Okay, sure. So do you want me to share the screen, or should I just
if you're prepared to, go ahead.
Yeah, it's always okay. First I have to find the tab, and now I have to go to Zoom and where is that? Share the screen. We're going to share the screen, and we're going to share this one. And here we go.
Called it.
Presenting my choice. Yeah, I might be a little predictable, and not just because it's a Montreal Canadian jersey, but let's walk through this one. So we're on Classic Auctions here. We're looking at Yvon Cournoyer's 1977-78 game worn jersey, and let's talk about how cool this one is. So this is a red one. I did not see this live. Obviously, this is literally before I was born. But hey, if money's no object, then we can suspend reality twice. Let's pretend I can afford this one, and let's pretend I don't have the rule of I have to have seen it live. So it is a red one. And to this day, I only have one red jersey. That's what you get when you're a Montreal Canadiens fan and you don't live in Montreal anymore. And you've just seen them on the road when they come to you more often than you get to go see them. So I don't have too many red jerseys. This is a red one. So that's going to balance out my collection in a great way. This is a captain's jersey, and you gotta love a captain. I have a captain jersey. I have Shea Weber with the C on it. But yeah, let's throw another captain into the mix. Yvon Cournoyer. I mean, this is before my time, but you know, I was one of those nerds with all of the hockey books. Like fill in the number greatest hockey players, greatest teams in NHL history. I mean, hello, Andrew's kid. But yeah, I mean, they called him the Road Runner because he skated real fast. And I mean, they just don't make nicknames like that anymore. I mean, it's an era of terrible nicknames when Jonathan Toews, Captain Serious, is the most creative nickname we have these days.
Now, I don't know about that because Wi-Fi is a pretty good one.
Yes. As I was saying that, I was like, oh, hey, Arbor Jack guy's got a fun one. But yeah, it's like, and I think I mean, I know I always loved the name Roadrunner, because it's a Looney Tunes character, and I always fancied myself as a fast skater if you just make me go in a straight line. So always dug the name. It's a captain's jersey. It's a really cool nickname. It just so happens to have his name on the back. If it were in my house, it would be front out because it's a captain jersey, and we show that C when in doubt. But it's kind of cool knowing that it's got the name on the back. Cournoyer is a retired number in Montreal Canadiens history. 12 is also retired for Dickie Moore. But yeah, for Cournoyer, might as well have his name on the back. He's pretty much an elder statesman these days for the Montreal Canadiens. Like Jean Béliveau died in 2014. Guy Lafleur died recently. Henri Richard died in 2020. So Cournoyer's he's the old guy right now with all the cups, literally 10 as a player. And this is from his second to last Stanley Cup winning year. The year escapes me when he retired, but 77-78 is the second to the last of that run, because 78-79 was the last. I remember that off the top of my head. So this is a Stanley Cup winning year. And can we zoom in here? And we see that there is that little white thread on the bottom of the C. Do we notice that?
Yep, I can see it.
Yep. And now we go to the last picture here in this auction, and we zoom in a little bit more. There it is. There it is, right there. It's photo matched for you. Gotta love a photo match that the auction house gives so that I don't have to spend too much time on homework that's already been done. Right sleeve also looks pretty good as a photo match. There's a hole in here. There's some fuzziness, like a board burn, and they try to repair it. Like they put some white thread on the white stripe, but then it's like right on the line. So the stripe looks a little fuzzy thanks to a repair there. So this one's got a pretty good photo match, and especially good for the late 1970s. And yeah, I don't think I could say enough great things about this jersey, and I think I covered everything I could possibly want to say about it. So yeah, this is.
Can you click on that little 77? It's right near where your mouse is. And
yeah, for sure.
Sorry, that's where my mouse is. That is kind of hysterical, I think. Like, first of all, it's nice to see the material. Also, just like the year tag is interesting to me.
Yeah, so this is a nice little chain stitched detail. It's quite common for St. Louis Cardinals jerseys. They still do it. They have some chain stitch. We're mixing sports here. That's the baseball team, obviously, but they have chain stitching, like right at the front right shirt tail. To this day, the St. Louis Cardinals, they still chain stitch the person's last name on the jersey. Yeah, just another really awesome little old school touch that you just don't see that often. Yeah, thanks for bringing that to my attention. Let's add another awesome thing to this jersey.
Drew, Dan, what do you think about this choice?
I think it's a lot like what Mike was saying about the Probert. I mean, you have a Canadiens jersey. I mean, first of all, it's an original 6. I don't think you can go wrong with getting an original 6 jersey, whether you like the team or not. I mean, they've been around for so long. So having a Canadian jersey, a captain's jersey, of a player that still means a lot to the Canadian fans, to the city of Montreal, would be a gem in any collection. Classic logo. They don't have to change it. It's like, the Wings and the Hawks and the, Canadian. They don't have to change their logos. You see it, you know who it is. You don't want it to change. So I think if that was Mike's jersey, it'd be a great addition to that price he's got behind his head. Side by side, and he'd have a gem of the collection. Great jersey.
Only had a time machine. Andrew, what do you think?
I mean, yeah, it is a fantastic jersey, especially, for the second best franchise that is out there. It would be something special. And I know you're, like you said, you're a big into collecting for game worns that you've actually been there. Can only imagine what it would have been like to actually watch him play. Because that is an entirely different style of play. It is an entirely different. It's almost an entirely different game from what we are used to seeing with hockey now. Like right now, it's very much, speed and passing and shooting and things like that. Whereas that time, the speed was, if you were a fast skater, that was something pretty special, because a lot of those players, they were almost all considered enforcers. They were big, they were strong, and they had no fear, which was absolutely amazing. So, for it being a Montreal Canadiens jersey, yeah, that's a hell of a choice. How do you go wrong with that? So, and like you said, original 6, you don't beat it. So.
I think it's funny, right? We think he's a fast skater, considering the era. Think of the skates he would have been using too back then.
Right? Oh my goodness!
The tubular ones, yeah,
like rubber rain boots. They must feel like. It's like we're not talking Connor McDavid's carbon fiber reinforced super tax here. We're no, man, this is we're talking prehistoric stuff back then with the with the blades with the little bumper at the end, right? You remember those bumpers? I don't even know what you call them, but
yeah, bumpers will work.
Old school skates, yeah, man. 77, 78. You think the game right now is big and expanding, up to 32 teams already, but try to imagine 77, 78. So the expansions from 6 to 12 was in 1967. So we're 10 years after that. So we got the Flyers and the Penguins celebrating their 10-year anniversary. And we've got other assorted teams like the Atlanta Flames and the Kansas City Scouts.
Love the Flames jerseys.
Yeah. The amateur draft would have been a brand new thing back then, relatively brand new. So for perspective, literally the very first amateur draft selection that the Montreal Canadiens had was Ray-Jean Houle. And a couple of years into the draft era, they managed to draft Guy Lafleur. So Guy Lafleur's going to be on that team also, those late 70s teams. So it's it's like the really the last dynastic Montreal Canadiens teams. I mean, at this point in time, the late 50s with Maurice Richard is a distant memory. Jean Beliveau had been retired since 1971, but Habs managed to pull off 4 in a row, and this would be 3 of 4. And yeah, to think that after 79, it's 86 and 93 and nothing else, but still more than Toronto.
Oof. Oof. Just
Man.
4 in a
Just-
row. I just want one
just-
before I die. if I can help it.
You guys are just digging on each other, man. This is great.
Andrew, let's kick it over to you. What do you got in this category?
Yeah, so I mean, this was actually a tough category, especially when I fully understood the rules, but because like my dream jersey would obviously be Teeter Kennedy, but obviously that is never going to come up for auction ever again. So the one that I actually ended up going with is John Kordic. And this is actually a photo match jersey. It's from the 89-90 season, and it's actually his career best in penalty minutes, 200 or infractions sitting in the box at 252. It is definitely a nostalgic style of Leaf. You don't really see that style of emblem anymore. And it's actually, for me, it's pretty interesting to see that, like, it's actually a different color blue than the actual blue that is on the rest of the jersey. Like it's almost like a lighter blue. It is, the numbers and everything else in the back are along the same lines. It's the same style, light blue, very blocky writing, which I do love. And, there is quite a bit of wear on it as well, which is fantastic. Something that you would expect. So it is something, if I had the money, why not? So it's definitely one that I will be watching. So it's a very interesting jersey for me. So
Yeah, good.
yeah.
Is this the Batman? I've heard the Leafs logo called like the Batman logo. I don't know for sure if this is the one on the shoulder patches. Has anybody here ever heard that? No, just me.
I haven't heard that one before.
We'll have to Google it to show that I'm not completely crazy. But I think that's what they called the shoulder patches in this era. Because it is kind of like an interesting leaf, but yeah, nice heavyweight.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's funny that, he is, was along the lines of another enforcer, but it's such a unique jersey. And like I said, especially when you end up getting almost that two-tone blue with the front emblem, and, and it's, for me, it's also growing up, being born in 87, this was the Leaf logo that really, it stuck out in your mind. Like this was the logo. So
I'm racking my brain, and I've never heard of any Leaf jersey being nicknamed the Batman. But is it possible you're thinking of the Ballard logo? I'm pretty sure they call this the Harold Ballard logo.
Yeah,
What
that's
you're
very
thinking.
possible.
Yeah. That's the only thing I could think of. But yeah, I mean, pretty cool jersey. I have to admit, 27 is this Kordic guy is not the first 27 who comes to mind. I mean, I think of Daryl Sittler, I think of Shane Corson. Michael Pekka ever play for the Leafs? He bounced around a little bit after the Buffalo Sabres. I know that.
Maybe.
But anyway, yeah, it's just, it's funny how all these different franchises go, like for the longest time, the Leafs only had Bill Barilko and Ace Bailey's numbers retired, and then everybody else was like kind of sort of off limits, like Wendell Clark 17 and Doug Gilmour's 93. So it's you know, and the Habs have that too. You know, like we got a couple of retired numbers like way after the fact. You know, it's like we got Jacques Plant's number 1 retired, and then it's like, you know, some scrubs named Rick Walmsley and Ron Tugnut taking number 1 for the Habs before Jacques Plant's forever, and it's like, yeah, it's funny how it goes. Like, it's like, oh, really? That was a thing, huh? Yeah, just another piece of history. You know, if it has to be a Maple Leafs jersey, and I'll give it to him. The blue and white looks pretty crisp.
I'll have to admit, I don't remember him as a player. Dan, is he a player you remember?
No, just when I have done enforcer collectors, you know, you hear his name thrown around because he is, you know, he is an enforcer. He's a B1, but you know, Andrew obviously makes sense being a Leafs fan, but again, another classic logo. I mean, when you're doing these auctions and if money's no option, you really can't go wrong by going the original 6. They just hold their value, and you know, it's a solid jersey, good solid logo. They don't change much. So, and again, if money's no option, it'd be a wise investment to go for the classic sick logos. You know, they just don't change. None of them change. So I think it would be a great find, and it'd probably mean a lot to his collection if he was able to get it. Who's ever bidding on it's going to get a great jersey, you know?
I mean, it's funny because that jersey was a tear for me in a way, because you were also talking about like the next category being sleeper jerseys, and it's kind of like, you know, that price for that jersey right now is actually, you know, it's really not bad. It's $1,400. You know, is it a little more than what I would want to spend on a jersey right this present time? Yeah, but I mean, realistically, $1,400 for an enforcer from that year, you know, it might almost end up being a steal too, right?
Is that American or Canadian?
I'm sure it's gotta be American.
It's American, and there's the hammer fee too. You got to not forget that'll. I think everyone here has been hit by one of those at one point.
Those things, that's like a swift kick right in the
not yet.
Yeah.
So 1,400 American. That's like 49,712 Canadian.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Pretty close. Give or take a penny here or there.
Holy.
Yeah, just some quick math in my head. Don't mind me.
Great choices so far. I'll go next. I will tell you the ones that I thought about picking but did not pick, and then we'll
honorable mentions. Oh man, so indecisive, my dude.
Here. Okay. On the game worn auctions, there is a Hartford Whalers Mark Howe 10th anniversary patch. That is a really cool jersey. I did not pick it. Somewhat predictably, there's a Pierre Turgeon jersey from the Sabres that piqued my interest, but again, didn't pick it.
Not naming names because he's not on television, but we all know who's getting that one.
Yes, indeed. Instead, I picked this one. This is an interesting choice, and I'll explain why. So it's a 97-98 Peter Forsberg, Colorado Avalanche, as you can see. Alternate captains A. He was a first-team All-Star that year. This comes from the Patrick Waugh collection. And these jerseys I love for a couple of reasons. First of all, as a youngster, I was a fan of the goaltender Stéphane Fiset. He played for the Nordiques. They became the Avalanche, so I became an Avalanche fan at that young age, and that kind of stuck with me. And I was the kid who wrote letters to players to see if I could get an autograph sent back, or sometimes I would mail them a card from my collection and write them a nice letter. And for the Avalanche in particular, I wrote 3 letters. Scratch that, 4 letters. One to Patrick Waugh, one Stéphane Fiset, one to Joe Sakic, and one to Peter Forsberg. And I got autographs back from Joe Sakic and Peter Forsberg. And Peter Forsberg even wrote on the little thing to Joshua. And like, as a, what was I, 10, 8, 10? Like, oh my God. Like, he became like a hero to me. So, money, no object. I'd love to have a piece of his career in my collection. I think, like Dan, in some cases, there are players that I just know are out of my league monetarily. And Peter Forsberg's jerseys rightfully tend to be pretty expensive. But money, no object. This is one that I would go for. I love the starter design and the material.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a piece that, you know, would bring me back to my childhood every time I see it. Yeah, so this is not an original 6, but this is where I landed. So what do y'all think?
Solid. I mean, again, I can go back to watching the Wings and the Avalanche in the 90s, just at that time frame. Forsberg going back and forth. He's such a talented player. Right now, that jersey might be a steal, but it's not going to stay there for long. Solid jersey. I mean, the starter mesh, you know, cool logo, you know, yeah, great player, Hall of Fame player. Good, solid pick, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I have to agree. That is a hell of a pick, and I can still remember watching them play and hating them because of how good they really were. And that was the big thing where it was just like, you know, that was almost of the era when you played against them. It was like you were going to lose because they were just such a good team. They had they were all around package. And I mean, it's just a hell of a jersey. That's a good pick.
Yeah, I'm a '90s kid too, and yeah, I gotta wholeheartedly approve on that one. I mean, man, those Avalanche jerseys. I remember when I first got aware of hockey as a sport, the Avalanche were the Avalanche. I have zero memories of the Quebec Nordiques, but they just look so cool in a new school way. I mean, you know, the way the hemline is the mountains, which Avalanche comes from mountains, always looked really, really cool to me. You know, it's like, oh wow, yeah, you got the old school teams with just stripes, but this is not an old school team. This is a new school team. They wear mountains, and yeah, super, super cool. Such a dynamic, talented player, Peter Forsberg. I mean, yeah, totally. No way to go wrong on that one. And if those prices get too high, My Gray Select has a couple of Peter Forsbergs that are really good. So yeah, you either get a steal on this one, or you go to My Gray and you got a great consolation price.
Excellent point, Mike. Excellent point. Appreciate the kudos. Dan, I know you've got an honorable mention in this category.
Yeah, for the back on, it doesn't matter which. I'll pick the one on classic. Who wouldn't want a Marty Brodeur jersey?
Yes, I had that one as well. I'll pull it up.
Who? I mean, I know that there's a lot of people out there. You know, Andrew likes the goalie guys, but I'm not sure if I'm a coach and I'm in a game 7, and I got to win, that I don't want this guy in the net. I'm not sure there's a better goalie that I've ever watched play win big games. I mean, just those Devil teams that won their cups, you're just like, man, how are they going to get it past this guy? That he just, I mean, if you're any type of collector, you'd want this guy in your collection. And I know Mike's probably like, I got Price. What are you talking about? But man, Brodeur's he's got the resume. He's got the wins, the shutouts, the minutes, the cups. I mean, you can't argue his resume, you know, when it comes to a player. Solid. I mean, it was hard, but, you know, like I said, Probert would have been number 1, but, you know, this is my son's a Devils fan. You can see it in the background.
Mm-hmm.
That's his fat head. He's had that fat head he bought at New York City, come running down the street with it, and that's hung on his wall for years. Big Marty Brodeur. So I've always admired him. So yeah, that would be my honorable mention for me, Marty Brodeur.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we love him as Montreal fans. I mean, we recognize the hometown players, and Marty Brodeur is one of chez nous, as we would say. So yeah, I mean, the only time you'll ever hear me say a bad word about Martin Brodeur is because I'm actually an American. So a couple of silver medals later, it's like, boy, thanks for nothing, Marty. But yeah, no, I mean, I was a goalie in my youth, and I totally had the replica Heaton 3100 pads. That iconic look. I mean, yeah, yeah. I mean, it is never a bad idea to add Marty Brodeur to your collection, unless maybe if you're a Rangers fan, then it's maybe a bad idea. Yeah, solid, man.
Correct me if I'm wrong. That's of the era of the small pads too, right? Like that was
How about we call them normal size pads?
Yeah,
not
yeah.
the giant
No,
ones of our day and age right now.
yeah, no added thigh rises on those ones. No, it was small equipment, nimble, moving around, all that good stuff.
You know,
That's
I
so
mean,
funny.
you got to wonder, like, how well he played back in that time. Do you think he would do better or worse now with like how the equipment is? You know what I mean?
That's
Like,
hard to say. I mean, would Gretzky score more goals if he had the today's sticks? I mean, the game has changed, since when they played all around.
Mhm.
So it's really the shooters. I mean, the guys now, they shoot in holes that are just barely the puck size, you know. So with these equipment, so it's hard to say, but you would think he'd still be better because the equipment would be bigger,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
the great players are. I mean, they're the great players of their era because they're just the best at that time. I mean,
Right.
like you got to believe they would have figured out a way to be the best no matter when they play. Give them a time machine.
Yeah.
They'll trade the coffee and cigarettes in favor of chicken and pasta like everybody does, and they'll figure out the new equipment, and they're just gonna continue kicking ass as they normally do.
Yeah, I think the great ones are the great ones, and I think in any area you put them in, they would have figured it out. They would have still been the great ones, and there's probably only a handful of them in the game, that ever played this game. So they'd be great in any era. And I think Marty would have been great in any era he played in. I just, you know,
Great
You
point.
you're great when they change a rule to try to limit you specifically. That trapezoid at the behind the nets. That's
yeah,
just for Marty, just to slow him down. All right.
right. Yeah,
They
he was one of the best puck handlers. Like from a goalie standpoint, he was one of the best puck handlers.
Mhm.
Right. So when they make a rule to change, I'm almost thinking that's like that alone is like Hall of Fame worthy in any sport. If they change a rule to combat the way you play, you're changing the game, and that is, how can you, he changed. He had a dynamic change of the game, not just wins and Stanley Cups, but he changed the game.
100%.
So that,
Dan, let's kick it over to you for the next category. So, for our viewers out there, the next category asks the collectors to think about a jersey that might be what you call like slept on, like undervalued or overlooked, that shouldn't be. So let's talk about what you could dig up. Kind of an interesting category. Dan, what's a jersey you think someone or collectors in general might sleep on in these two auctions?
I'm going to go on the classic. It's a Matt Walker jersey, black Chicago Blackhawks jersey.
Okay.
Um,
Got it.
I think the original 6 jerseys, Matt Walker, Gall's in the line. He's a low level enforcer. But the Hawks jersey again is just, you could argue it's the greatest logo in all the sports. I mean, there's some great logos. If you flash it on the screen, everybody knows who it is. And there's great ones out there. I mean, both in all the sports that you could have a great argument about this. But Matt Walker's not a big name player. Like I said, he's a low level enforcer. So the jersey's usually on the relatively the lesser side. But again, an original 6 logo, having it in your collection, I just don't. I just don't think having that, having an original 6 in your collection, I think is a solid piece to have. And this would probably come at a more reasonable price than the Cornick or the Probert or some of the other Enforcer ones that are going to be on the auction sites. So, Blackhawks jerseys they're usually desired. So I think this one could end up being a decent value.
And a big one, 58 plus. This is a big guy.
Yeah.
We're talking.
So yeah, you got the short. You got the shortened fight strap. You got the fight strap. You got the Blackhawks. Nice. Their tags. If you ever had a Blackhawks jersey, their set tags are really thick. So they got a nice set tag there. Jersey probably doesn't have a ton of wear on it, but it's probably got a little bit in there. But again, this would be the logo. I mean, just the logo itself would be to go after. Again, I could think it'd be a relatively on the lower side for someone, you wouldn't get hit so hard with that hammer fee, if you're looking to keep your pocketbook tight,
Great choice.
So I think that'd be a decent one to find, decent one to add for low level,
Great choice. I have a Blackhawks in my collection. It's a replica though. Clark Griswold. Less known player.
Christmas Vacation.
You wear it every Christmas. Right, you gotta have a jersey for every occasion. So Christmas Day, you can always find me in my Clark W. Griswold 00 Blackhawk. So I'm right with you. That's a cool logo. Andrew, what do you think?
I think, like we've been saying, having an original 6 team is something to have. And I mean, it is a logo that you could show pretty much anybody. If they know any sort of sport, they're going to know that logo. It is something that is, it's been around forever, and it is sparking a lot of conversation, especially during these days. It is a logo that hopefully never ever changes. It is absolutely fantastic. It is iconic, and solid, and it's just that is a hell of a sleeper. That is legitimately a sleeper.
Cool. Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, so the chain stitching is gorgeous. Going back to chain stitching, just by sheer coincidence, like the Cournoyer set tag. But the Chicago front crest is it is chain stitched. So if you get your hands on a Chicago Blackhawks gamer and you just hold it up close and you feel it, I mean, oh, talk about gorgeous textures. I mean, I would almost feel bad putting this in a frame because I would just want to be able to touch it all the time. Yeah, what's the value at right now? We're at 165 American right now. Yeah, I mean, the prices obviously cannot possibly go down. They literally only go up. So and the more we talk about it, the less of a sleeper it is anymore. If the price stays low, then somebody's going to be really happy with this one. It's a black, which is an alternate for Chicago. It's a little untraditional, in that usually your Chicago jerseys are going to be red or white. So the black is a little different. This one's going to be a little hard to photo match because it is black. You would normally love to get a puck mark, but the puck is black too. So that's going to be a little hard to see. 65 games played in only one season for the Chicago Blackhawks. So the alternate jerseys are just straight up not worn as often. And then to consider that it's the set one, there's an outside chance that I don't know how Chicago does it because I don't collect Chicago. But some teams, the alternate is worn literally all season. So maybe if you look up some images from 2009, you might actually have some good luck. If you saw me looking at my phone earlier, it's because I was seeing if I could get lucky on a Hail Mary. I looked on Getty Images for the year 2008 and sorting with the new ones first. And I saw literally one picture. So it's a reference photo, if nothing else. There is a reference of Matt Walker, number 8 in the Chicago scorecard, wearing this black jersey. Not photo matched yet, but hey, you got what you got, and it's a very attractive looking Chicago alternate, and it's hard to argue. Yeah, man.
Excellent. Very good, Mike. Let's kick it over to you for your choice in this category.
Okay. So I'm also sticking with classic. And I'm going to get rid of some tabs I don't need anymore. And we're going to find my Zoom, and we're going to share the screen, and we are going to share it. Here's my nomination.
This is not a Montreal Canadiens jersey.
Oh yeah, believe it or not, it's not a Montreal Canadiens jersey. I mean, I can't be pimping out all the Montreal Canadiens jerseys. I mean, that would just be entirely too predictable. But yeah. So here's my nominee at a relatively reasonable $182 so far. This is a Jason Blake, 2006-2007. New York Islanders jersey. I mean, as I mentioned on a previous episode of Jerseys with Josh, I have family members who are Islanders fans. So I'm always going to have a little bit of a soft spot for New York Islanders stuff. And this one to me appears to be extremely reasonably priced. Jason Blake, good American boy, represented my country for an Olympic Games. The year is escaping me. I forget what team he was on for America. So I can't recall if he was a medalist, but he certainly represented the United States at the Olympics. And that's really, really, really cool. Doing some extra research, this 2006-2007 is going to represent the one time he was a mid-season All-Star. So that's really, really cool. And then this is going to be Jason Blake's last year with the New York Islanders. And I think if you close your eyes and if you think of the name Jason Blake, I think he's the most famous as an Islander. He moved on. His next stop would be the Toronto Maple Leafs, where he picked up a Bill Masterton trophy, getting diagnosed with a cancer and then coming back from it. He'd be a Los Angeles King eventually, a Minnesota Wild eventually. But this is a really, really good jersey of a very good player in his best year in the NHL. And here's another hidden piece of value. In my experience, classic auctions, sometimes they sell their stuff really, really, really well. And other times they massively undersell what they have. So if you read this product description of the Jason Blake jersey, you just, you see it and you see that it has a migrate tag. And it says, well, if you go over to the migrate report, they say it is a Navy set 2. But as I'm going to send everybody in our little Facebook Messenger group chat right here, it's photo matched. Why did they not mention that?
I'm shocked.
Do they
match? No way.
Do they not feel like pumping up their own tires to try to get more money out of these collectors? it's literally photo match. Let's get this on the let's get this on the screen. Somebody help me out, please. I'll stop the share so that somebody can get it.
Sure, I'll pull it up.
Yeah.
Insane.
So yeah, I mean, and it's pretty clear to my eyes too. You know, it's like tell me if I'm wrong, tell me if I'm crazy. But we're really lucky on this one. The Navy set 2. It's worn at home. It's worn at the Nassau Coliseum, that wonderful barn. And it is very consistent with what we would call Navy Set 2. It's photo matched to January 15, 2007. It's a home game against the Tampa Bay Lightning. And yeah, look at that. Got it all color coded for you. We got some weird stuff going on the right unit digit 5, and some other things on the right shoulder. And yeah, that's a photo match in my book. I just can't believe they didn't mark it as such. So, all right. So if Classic Auctions isn't going to pump their own tires, I guess I'm going to pump their tires for them. So yeah, if any Islanders fans are looking at this one, it's either your lucky day because I'm tipping you off to something awesome, and I'm not bidding on this one because I like to stick with the Canadians. So you can either say thank you very much to me, it's a lucky day, or you can curse me because I might have accidentally made the bidding price spike a little bit because
well, you're not bidding on it.
Yeah.
It's all about helping others, people helping people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what else I like is the shoulder patch that the Islanders do for the 4 Stanley Cups. I've always thought that was a nice touch on their jerseys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So nowadays, they pay tribute to their 4 in a row from back in the day. In that their crest has a hockey stick, and once upon a time the hockey stick had 3 stripes because 3 is a good number. But now the stick has 4 stripes, so they do that instead of the shoulder patch that has 4 stripes on it. So that's a pretty cool feature. Kudos to that graphic designer who had a clever idea and then the right person signed off on it. So yeah.
Good choice. Good choice. Andrew, what do you got in this category?
So, I mean, I'm definitely sticking tried and true.
Oh God, here comes another Maple Leafs jersey.
Yeah, you knew it was coming. Come on. Don't kid yourself. But I actually thought it was a pretty cool one. I mean, it's right up my alley. One being Toronto, 2 being goalies, because that's what I love to collect. But I mean, a 2016, 2017, game worn Stanley Cup playoffs jersey, with the Centennial patch on the shoulder, and it is a very cool jersey. This was when we did make the playoffs. We did exit out of the first round, and as per usual. However, it is a sweet looking jersey, and I mean the fact that it's got the Centennial patch is just absolutely amazing. It being a goalie, I mean, you got tons of puck marks. It would be super easy to photo match, especially being a white jersey with the blue crest. Mm-hmm. It's got the lace up front, which is just, I mean, iconic. It's absolutely amazing.
There's no milk ad on it though.
So, not on this one. No. Thankfully, we'll have to see if I can get my hands on one of the milk ads, but it is a sweet. It's got to be one of my favorites. And I mean, considering the fact the current bid is $303 US, I mean, it's on the lower end as of right now, especially with it being the Centennial patch, right? They're hard to come across now. So
what kills me with the Centennial patch is that it's on the sleeve. I really wish, like the 75th, that it was on the chest. I just feel like it displays so much better. Probably would have been easier for fans to see. I mean, the 75th patch is like completely iconic. I like the 100th patch, but I don't know. What do you guys think about the Centennial patch on the arm?
Um, yeah, I mean, it's not my first choice. I would have put it there. I think it's a little small to be on the chest, but they could have made it bigger. You know, I mean, you're celebrating 100 years, so probably couldn't put it on the shoulder because a lot of teams have shoulder patches. But yeah, I probably would have picked the chest first, but it would have had to been a bigger, like the 75th. It would have been more prominent, you know, and because you know right now the 75th jerseys are you can't get your hands on one. I mean, they're just you just can't do it because they're so desired. So imagine what this jersey would be like in you know another 10, 15, 20 years when you just they're so hard to come by.
Mike,
Yeah,
you're a
like
big
it was
Leaf fan.
actually.
What do you think?
I'm sorry you cut out there.
Sorry, you're a big Leafs fan. What do you think about this one?
um, yeah, yeah, it's the wrong 31. But we won't hold it against you guys too much. But yeah, I mean they've given one Getty image. I have not bothered to double check their work, but I'm sure it's good. But yeah, it's a solid example, and you can never go wrong with a goalie jersey with some solid looking wear like that. I know I already tipped off another friend of mine to this jersey because I know for a fact that the guy I'm thinking of owns Freddie Anderson leg pads that I personally extensively photo matched starting from February all the way until the Leafs got out of the playoffs. So this jersey will quite literally coincide with those leg pads in his collection. So if he gets it, fantastic. I will take the collector's assist on that one. But if Andrew, you get it instead, then I'd be equally happy for you because it's on your radar. And yeah, Leafs goalie. Leafs goalie. Can't say much
I
more.
mean, it's one of those things where like it's funny to think because I mean like as we were mentioning before we even really started recording, you know, goalies, and it doesn't even just have to be the Leafs, it's for any team. There's not many, right? Like you only have so many goalies in the league. So I mean, for a
Yeah.
collector that gets into goalies, it is, you know, they can be hard to find, they can be extremely pricey, and then especially when you start throwing like the patches on the actual jerseys, like they're super desirable. They can drive prices so far, and especially for the right collector. I mean, this is definitely something I will be keeping an eye on. Um, Probably won't be putting a bid on it, just because I'll be worried about getting a little twitchy with the finger and continuing to put the bid up. But you know, it is it is a fine niche when you start going after like one specific position. So
Yeah, I mean they're literally, two on a team at a time. Like maybe you got your third string goalie who gets a little bit of action. Fourth, if it's an absolutely terrible year from hell. But yeah, and to consider goalie, you either got all 60 minutes or you don't. So it's like it's a bit of a trade-off there. So yeah, I mean. I said, what else could you say? But I guess I could say one more thing. It's like it's Freddie Anderson, the guy the Leafs let walk away.
yeah, that's true. I will say that too. We did let him walk away. Like,
Yeah, I mean, how did Jack Campbell work out? How did Matt Murray work out? How did Peter Mrazek work out?
so let's not go there.
Okay, how about Garrett Sparks?
Or JS.
Oh,
Or David Ayers. Oh, wait a second.
Oh,
He worked for the
Oh.
Toronto organization, and then he beat the Toronto
that is
organization.
the jersey I want to wear to game.
that
A replica.
that would be a fun jersey.
That would be sweet.
That would be a fun jersey to get your hands on for sure. For sure. So like it's funny to see. Like, I mean, I would love to get a Soups, jersey and stuff like that, just because I mean he meant so much to the organization when he was part of it. I mean, I feel bad for him right now, so for where he is and how he's playing. So, but what do you do, right?
What do you do? Let's round this thing out, shall we, gentlemen? Here's my pick for the sleeper jersey. This would be Ryan Donato's 2017-18 jersey. And I picked this for a couple of reasons. It's a personal milestone jersey for his career, right? First NHL goal. That's going to be a really special moment. He's from Massachusetts, played at Harvard, so that's a really cool connection. And when we again come back to original six, I mean, there you go, right? Boston Bruins, hard to miss on one of those. It's got the shoulder patch with the kind of the third logo they were using at the time, or sorry, the secondary logo that they would have used on their third jerseys. And I just think this is a nice piece coming in so far relatively inexpensively. Would be a kind of a nice jersey if you were newer to the hobby and kind of starting to get into it. I don't think this will end up running a ton, but it is nice to have that piece where it's a special connection to that player's career. I can only imagine what it's like to score your first NHL goal, and to have a jersey that he would have worn in that moment, I think would be pretty special. And that's how you land on my pick for one that I think will be slept on, but maybe shouldn't be too slept on.
Yeah, man, solid jersey if someone gets it. Again, I think the theme of the night is the original six. I mean, you just can't go wrong. If you're gonna bid on these auctions, sometimes they can get pricey. So you want value for your money. So usually original six is a good value. It's an Adidas jersey, right? I think it's an Adidas one, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. Yes.
I personally like the Adidas jerseys. I mean, I'm kind of sad they're going away from Adidas. I just like the look of them and the when you own them and stuff like that. So another that would be another plus on my side. Yeah, the connections you can make of it, solid colors, classic logo, good connection there. So it'd be a well edition, probably at a relatively decent price for someone, you know.
And
Good
I can
find.
only imagine this jersey is going to be going up in value, especially considering the fact it's his very first NHL goal. I mean, that's got to count for something,
And his
especially
debut too. I mean, it's one of these jerseys that you're surprised it's in the hobby, because you would think that the player would want it for themselves. But hey, sometimes the player is just so focused on making the team and staying with the team, and not ruffling feathers with the equipment manager. I guess slipped through his hands or something. But NHL debut and a first NHL goal. And, I'm pretty sure Ryan Donato is also an Olympian. I mean, say what you want about the 2022 and the 2018 Olympics, where he was on one of those. Yeah. Say what you want about those Olympics where it's not quite the best NHLers making it to the Olympics, but an Olympian's still an Olympian. And
Yeah.
And that's really cool. Just by a crazy coincidence, all 6 of my gamers are Olympians too. So that's been an accidental common thread. I didn't set out to go that way. I was just focusing on jerseys that I saw live. and it just kind of worked out that way. So, if I were a fan of any other team than the Canadians, as an American, yeah, that Ryan Donato is gonna be pretty special for sure.
Yeah, agree with that one.
Awesome. Well, that rounds out all of the jerseys we were looking at for tonight. Dan, Andrew, Mike, thank you so much for joining me here on the show to talk about these really special jerseys. To those of you who are going to be bidding, I hope you enjoy. To the consigners, I wish you good luck with your sale. Same with the auction houses. Best of luck with both auctions that you've got going on. To the bidders, may you have many happy bids and bring some really cool jerseys into your collection. It's always nice to see what people purchase and also what ends up coming up for sale in the hobby as people prepare to make some bigger purchases. So that's always kind of a fun part of it. But gentlemen, thanks again for being here. To those of you who are watching, thanks for watching. Please leave us some comments. Let us know what you thought of the episode. What jerseys were your favorite? Do you have others that you think people are going to sleep on? Or if you could bring one home, which one would you bring? Would definitely love to know. As always, thanks for watching and enjoy the hobby. See you next time.